Welcome to the Vocations View podcast, brought to you by the Office of Vocations and the Office of Communications of the Diocese of Harrisburg. My name is Father Jonathan Sawicki, and I am the Director of Vocations for the Diocese of Harrisburg. Each year during the first week of November, the Church in the United States observes National Vocation Awareness Week. In November of 2020, our Cathedral Parish of St. Patrick hosted an evening of adoration and prayer for vocations. During this time of Eucharistic adoration, 4 speakers shared their own experience of prayer and how they came to understand God's invitation to follow Him on the path of the religious vocation. Today, we will hear from one of our wonderful women religious currently serving in our diocese. Sister Danielle Truex is a member of the Sisters, Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The IHM Sisters have served our diocese for over 120 years, and Sister Danielle continues that heritage of service at Sacred Heart School in Lancaster, where she serves as principal. Please listen to Sister Danielle's beautiful reflection on how she encountered the Lord's invitation to follow Him.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Father, for inviting me this evening to be with all of you. When I was praying this week over what I might share this evening, I was happy that I had the opportunity this year to be teaching as well as being the principal at Sacred Heart School. And I've been having a class for our middle schoolers on prayer. And the word that we have been bringing up over and over and over again during our time together has been encounter. When I was working with the children on talking about prayer and learning what prayer is and entering into it, we decided to make some distinctions about what prayer isn't. It's not a checklist item, something you have to do to get done, and it's not a meeting, but it's an encounter where we come to God with vulnerability and allow something transformative to happen in that encounter. And I'd like to share with you a few moments in my own life when that encounter led me to the vocation to religious life, particularly in my community, the Sister Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Growing up, my family did not practice any kind of faith life. We certainly attended church once in a while, but I was not raised as a faithful member of any congregation or community. And when I went to public school, and when I was in middle school, I started to get into trouble a little bit. And my parents decided that that was time to put me in Catholic school to make sure that I stayed on the right path. And it was a wonderful experience for me. I went from a very large public school to a very small Catholic school. And my new best friend at my new school had parents who were very serious about making sure that all of our obligations to our faith were lived out. And I spent many, many, many wonderful weekends with them that included attendance at Mass always before we were allowed to go and do something fun. Vacations with them where their parents were daily Mass attendants. And I started to notice something about them that was unique. And it was that the source of their love for one another and their life for one another was something deeper and more powerful and transformative in their lives. And I wanted that. I realized that that thing, that source of the love and the life in their family was God and God's place in their lives together. So when I was a junior in high school, I came into the church and I felt like, okay, I did what I needed to do, and I'm very happy to now be a part of this faith community, to be able to gather with these people and be one with them in the Eucharist And I thought that I was pretty much done. But that first encounter was transformative. It showed me something that I deeply yearned for and didn't know I wanted. After I graduated from high school, I went to Immaculate University, which is the university run by my congregation. And while I was studying and considering what I would do with the rest of my life, I found very quickly that I needed something much more practical, which was a job. So shortly after I began studying at Immaculata, I was hired to be a nurse's aide at Camilla Hall, which is our nursing home for our sick and elderly sisters. And another encounter occurred. In fact, many, many encounters occurred during that time. I was looking towards my future and considering what I might do with my life. And then I was spending a lot of time with women who were at the end of their lives. And I had the privilege of watching them love one another, love God, joyfully offer what they could to the congregation, sacrifice and pray through suffering, and who were immensely, immensely satisfied and happy with a life well lived. I spent quite a bit of time at Camilla while I was in college. In fact, over my breaks, I would often stay there and work double shifts and live in the convent while I was on my break. And one particular encounter I had was an evening when a sister who often didn't remember things accurately at that point was speaking with me. I was helping getting her ready for bed, and she was telling me about a whole lot of events that probably happened far back in her youth, and she was happy sharing them with me. And when I went to leave her room, I prayed with her first, and I went to turn the light off and leave, and she said to me, "Hold on a second. There's something I really want to say to you." And she was thinking very, very hard about what this was she wanted to recall. And she said, "I'm praying for your vocation." And I just said, "Okay, thank you, good night." And later that evening, when I was finished my shift, I usually worked till 11, I went downstairs and I went into the chapel, and it was dark, just the vigil lights lit. And I sat in the back pew, and I felt such joy come over me. And I knew in that moment that I wanted to live a life like the women I was so privileged to be with at the end of theirs. It was, again, a transformative experience. So after my second year at Immaculata, I entered the postulate, which is the first year of religious life in a congregation where one enters into living with the sisters, working with the sisters, continuing to study, and asking, is this the place that God is calling me to be? I made my first profession of vows in 2010, and I've been blessed to serve as a teacher and an administrator in Philadelphia and now here in Lancaster. I want to say that a vocation doesn't reach its fulfillment in the yes and in the final profession of vows or moment of fulfillment. It continues to unfold day after day after day, encounter after encounter. And I thank God every day that He has allowed me to live this life of availability for Him and encounter with Him, because the fulfillment of my vocation comes in the daily living of it. In the early morning, dark, quiet moments in chapel before I begin my day of ministry, I encounter God. Throughout my day, I have the privilege of encountering him over and over again in the people I serve and the people with whom I minister. And in times that are joyful and in times that are difficult, God continues to come to me and allow me to encounter him and change me and make me more available to him and to allow me to go deeper. I truly believe that the fulfillment of vocation is in finding the way in life that allows us to have those encounters and allows us to give of ourselves fully to God. I'm very grateful to be a sister servant of the Immaculate Heart of Mary and to be serving in the Diocese of Harrisburg in Lancaster. And I'm grateful to have been here with you this evening. Please know that I will continue to pray for you and for your vocations as well.
Thank you for listening to the Vocations View podcast, brought to you by the Office of Vocations and Office of Communications of the Diocese of Harrisburg. For more information, or to reach out to me, Father Jonathan Sawicki, the Director of the Office of Vocations, please go to www.harrisburgpriest.com. God bless you and have a good day.